Okay. Now, what you didn't see, welcome to Homily Chat, by the way. What you didn't see was about 22 seconds ago, I had no Father Michael on my Zoom chat. Now, the way that this show works is I've got this hard countdown thing that goes on for 4 minutes, and it allows us to get the show established. It allows us, get people to tune in on Facebook Live and so forth. And we were having some network issues right in the middle of it. So, Father Michael, did you just?
And I think we're having those network issues right now, actually.
Oh, great! Did you just reboot your iPad or something then, or?
Oh, sorry, you were breaking up, but I'll tell you what happened on my end is we were having some of those network issues, and I usually try to log in about 10 minutes beforehand and get there, and it's kind of a race to see who can log into the room first, and we catch up a little bit and do this, and then we were having these network issues, and I looked at the clock and I knew that on the monitor that I'm looking was about 1 minute left, and I know that it's usually about 25 seconds behind. I thought, I think I have time to try to quit out of Zoom and log back into Zoom. And so I tried to tell you that that's what I was doing, but I think the network may have been down. And so I tried to do it. And it seems like I logged in with, a couple seconds to go. What's a couple seconds? I mean, no one, so literally as the, go ahead.
This would have been fun. I would have been I do have a screen that just has a space for me, because I've got these little overlays and it's a whole, background thing going on. So I could have began the show, I guess, with me, but it would have been weird. But anyway, that was fantastic. I'm like, I have no Father Michael. I'm seeing it dip below 30 seconds. I have no Father Michael.
Well, here we are, at least for now, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that we can keep both of us in this episode for the whole episode. Because I have a question for you and a little update. Any more mouse evidence since last week? You said you had caught, and we were hoping was the queen mouse, and so that she would have gone with all her minions away. Any more mouse evidence?
No more mouse evidence, both here and at the church. It very well might have been the same mouse going from both from here to there, because the rectory is part of the church, so it's just a closed door, and a mouse can fit under a door, no problem. No mice, but because you can never have a week without something going wrong in here. My washing machine conked out, so now I gotta figure out where to do some laundry tomorrow.
Oh man, and it's too cold to just take it down to the river and do it the old-fashioned way by pounding rocks onto your clothes.
A little bit. So anyway, but hey, at least there's no mice, so I can handle bringing my clothes somewhere else to wash them. I can handle it better than a mouse. I really didn't sleep well for almost 2 months because of this stupid thing. So anyway.
Well, now we're back and we're getting a well-rested Father Darryl, so it's good to see him now that he's sleeping well, that the mice are gone. We have some good news here in San Francisco with the high school that I'm the chaplain at, and that is sports practices have begun.
Oh, really?
So the idea, they released the schedule for when they'll be able to play sports seasons. And, football is not in pads, lacrosse is not in pads, but they are on the field. Soccer is on the field, lacrosse is on the field. I will say this, they are essentially doing every sport during the same season. And so track and field is warming up in the baseball outfield while the baseball is playing on the infield. Lacrosse is on one end of the field, soccer's on the other end of the field, and football's in the weight room, and then they switch. Half the pool is guys doing laps, and half the pool is guys playing water polo. But it is so good, I have to say, so good to see the kids out on the fields again doing something. So
wow, that's amazing. Long time coming.
Yes, it has been. Cool. And so hopefully things keep kind of trending in the right direction. And in about 2 or 3 weeks here, we can start getting some games in.
That would be really cool. Very cool. Very cool. And I see over in the chat, hello, Jim, and anyone else who's watching, feel free to chime in at any point. I guess I don't need tips on mouse catching anymore, but maybe on washing machine repair. Actually, we had a repair guy over, and I see the washing machines in my garage right now. So I don't know what the plan is. I haven't been here all day, so I don't know if we're planning to sell it like really cheaply. I have no idea, but it's one of those front loading models, I think the parish bought it about 11 years ago, and it's got a 10-year warranty.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, I think I might be carrying the show on my own at the moment.
That's always the way
Father
it works
Michael is... Oh, you're back. Okay, good.
Okay. Oh, so we survived another issue of another network connectivity issues. So there
Very
we
good.
go. So this episode may be marked by network connectivity issues. That might be the theme of the episode. But I can tell you this, it won't be the theme of my homily, because I've been trying to think. I have all kinds of different things floating on in my mind, and none of them involve network connectivity issues. But thankfully this week, Father Darryl is on the ball first. So we will turn and see what he has in store. Would you like me to read the gospel for you, or are you thinking first or second reading?
I'm thinking everything, but why don't you start with the gospel? I mean, the first reading is Job doing a whole lament thing, and so you could work network issues into that. But anyway, yeah, no, go ahead with the gospel.
Well, I think with Job, I think network connectivity issues would be the least of his worries. So, let's turn to the gospel. So, a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory
to you, O Lord. On leaving the synagogue, Jesus entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Simon's mother-in-law lay sick with a fever. They immediately told him about her. He approached, grasped her hand, and helped her up. Then the fever left her, and she waited on them. When it was evening, after sunset, they brought to him all who were ill or possessed by demons. The whole town was gathered at the door. He cured many who were sick with various diseases, and he drove out many demons, not permitting them to speak because they knew him. Rising very early, before dawn, he left and went off to a deserted place where he prayed. Simon and those who were with him pursued him, and on finding him said, "Everyone is looking for you." He told them, "Let us go on to the nearby villages, that I may preach there also. For this purpose have I come." So he went into their synagogues, preaching and driving out demons throughout the whole of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So we're workshopping this a little bit today, but because it's just been, it's been another one of those weeks. What do you do, right? So glad we're doing this, because the gospel has Jesus doing a number of things: healing Simon Peter's mother-in-law, driving out some demons, healing some more people, going and praying, and and saying he's going to go and preach the gospel elsewhere. You have the book of Job, where Job is basically given a wonderful little lament about his lot in life. You have the psalm that's singing praises to the Lord. You have St. Paul talking about proclaiming the gospel. You have a bit of a mixed bag of everything going on in all of these readings. And it is, at least initially, kind of hard. How do you draw this together, right? It's especially, usually the first reading and the gospel seem to they're usually made so that they go together. We have a lament in the first reading, Jesus healing in the gospel. I think it kind of just reveals to me maybe a couple of things. The first one would be just with how many different things are going on in these readings. It kind of shows to me that, our human lives are often kind of messy and complicated, and we have lots of things going on, and maybe far too many things going on, and everything's kind of, all kinds of different things happening. God's a part of it. Sometimes it's good to be reminded God is a part of our lives, and he wants to be a part of our lives, and wants us to welcome him into all of those places, whatever it happens to be. If we're feeling like we're in a time of lament, which happens, which is normal, he wants to be a part of that. As the gospel, or as the psalm says, sing praises to the Lord who heals the brokenhearted. He wants to be a part of that, to redeem that experience. He wants to be a part of our sickness, of different issues that go on. So, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, is that, God wants to be a part of this, and he is a part of this. And sometimes it's just good to be reminded of this, especially as, for example, this whole crazy year continues onward. I was chatting with another friend of mine a few days ago. We were trying to calculate how many days of Lent it's been. 300 and whatever, 340 something days of Lent. or so it seemed. Just the reminder that, you know what, God is continuing to be with us. We did calculate it, by the way. The Ash Wednesday will be the 358th day of Lent. So there we are. we were having fun.
That's anyway. A great way to start your Ash Wednesday homily.
Totally. I think I just gave that away, but anyway.
Yeah, welcome to the 358th and first day of Lent. So it'd be a great way to start your Ash Wednesday homily. I was thinking about that as well. And as I was reading that gospel, there were a couple lines that stood out to me that I may look at, especially that line towards the end of the gospel where Jesus says, "For this purpose have I come. For this purpose have I come." And looking at it, well, what is he talking about? Going out and preaching, going out and bringing the good news. And when we look at it, what is the good news, but essentially Jesus Christ himself? And so for this purpose, he has come. What he has come is to bring himself to the people. And so I'm wondering if there's something there, because we're often looking for purpose in our life. And if our purpose is to do what Jesus's purpose is, then that same purpose will kind of be there. But I was kind of thinking about that a little bit. I have to admit, I was almost drawing a blank, kind of reading this gospel and reading the readings. And this might be a little bit of a preacher's trick. You always have, 3 or 4 different homilies you can kind of go back on when you have this blank. And I was thinking about using one of my kind of fallback homilies that talks about healing. So it wouldn't be disconnected from the gospel. But I often talk about, or not often, but one of these fallbacks, and I always have to remember, like, have I given this fallback homily at this parish? I don't think so. I don't think I've given it, while I've been at this parish. And so I think it might be good to go, but it talks about healing. And I say, what kind of healing do we expect from Jesus? Because we hear in the Psalm, right, the Lord heals the brokenhearted. We hear about Jesus healing Simon's mother-in-law. And, we all have some aspect in our life that we need healing from Jesus from. And I say, but I think sometimes we have the wrong idea of how Jesus is going to bring about healing in our life. And so I tell the story of, when I was, I think, 12 or 13 years old, or maybe a little younger, maybe 10 or 11. And my brother and I were playing in the woods, and I fell and got a real bad scratch on the side of my knee. And I always say, the 10 or 11-year-old in me knew exactly what to do, which was not tell my mom, go home and go into the bathroom, reach under the bathroom and get what? The absolute biggest Band-Aid I could find. Because we all know that at 10 years old, the bigger the Band-Aid, the better it's going to heal. And so I just kind of slapped that Band-Aid on top of that cut. And I just left that Band-Aid on for, 3 or 4 days, until later, 3 or 4 days later, I was wearing some shorts and my mom saw the Band-Aid, goes, what is that? And I said, oh, don't worry. I already took care of it. And she said, no, bring it over here. And so, peeling the Band-Aid back, she saw probably, the grossest cut you'd ever seen in your life, because it had not been treated. It had just been covered and almost covered and ignored for 3 or 4 days. And she said, oh, no, that's not how you do it. And of course, then she did what I was afraid to do at the beginning, which was to get that brown bottle of the hydrogen peroxide out and begin to kind of, pour it in there and let it sting. And I think sometimes the healing we want from Jesus is like the healing I was trying to do. We just want Jesus to kind of cover our wounds, and we want to ignore it. We want to let it happen from there. But I think sometimes the way that Jesus is going to do the healing is, like you said, we have to invite him in to that pain, into the hurt. And I always kind of use the line, and it sometimes elicits a little chuckle, but it gets the point across, right? We have to let Jesus be the hydrogen peroxide. We have to let him kind of go in and kind of bubble his way into those places of messiness in our life, into those places where we need the healing. Because that's the only way healing is going to be done, is to let Christ into where that hurt is. Jesus doesn't heal us, or usually, and he can, but normally the way he operates is not just like a bandage that we cover it and ignore it and it goes away. But the only way he's going to accomplish that healing we need in our life is to let him into that hurt. And so I kind of tell that story and talk about the healing and kind of offer that encouragement to, those places of hurt in our life. We need to allow Jesus to come in if we really want that healing to take place. So that's kind of my fallback homily on healing in general in the Gospels. And if I honestly, if I don't come up with anything, I think that's what's going to come out on Sunday.
Hey, I mean and that's a powerful story actually, because I mean when Jesus, goes into the hard place, is the hydrogen peroxide, so to speak. He's going to a place where he is chosen to go for our sake as well, because you can point to the crucifix and say the healing takes place because of that, because that's the kind of love that he pours out. And it, yeah. So yeah, I like that story a lot, actually. I mean, I can't tell it myself, I guess, but
yeah. And so, I mean, that's the thing is, again, right, a story that really drives home the point. And that's, I remember somebody once saying, the thing about stories in homilies is they shouldn't need to be explained. They should just kind of explain themselves by the story itself. And I think that story does a great job of kind of explaining what it's about. So, and
I'm kind of laughing because I routinely will tell stories where people are wondering, where on earth is he going? And then I try to give it something at the very end. But anyway.
No, those are the best stories. I like those as well. But I'm going to keep working on this. So I would say this: my goal is that this will not be my homily for the weekend. My goal is that as I keep kind of praying and workshopping this a little bit, that I will come up with something so that I can save this and keep it in my back pocket for another time when I can't come up with a homily.
That would be great. I think we do have some more network lag going on, but that's, that's just the way it is. You had a great freeze frame for a second. You're kind of like really emphatic with the hands. It was fantastic. Which, for those of you listening, yeah, I guess you see it on the YouTube version, but that was fascinating. But yeah, it's one of those reading. I like how, Jim also sums it up in the chat. It almost makes me think of like a volleyball game or something. The lineup: life's hard, first reading; God heals, psalm; we respond by doing all we can to love and return, second reading; and for this purpose I have come, gospel. So it's like game, set, match kind of thing. Kind of leading up to Jesus and the gospel, which it always should lead up to anyway. So yeah, it's one of those weekends. I think it could very easily spin off into something that's far too long or something that's really short. Not that anyone
I think you're right.
Complains if it's short.
It's like that line someone once said, pardon the length of this homily, I didn't have time to write a shorter one. Because there's again so much here and so many things that aren't obviously on the surface connected, that you try to make these connections and you end up speaking and going off on so many tangents that I could really see it being a danger this week, that you just that the homily just becomes so long. And not that long homilies are bad, but my fear is that if I were to give a long homily, it would be because I don't have a point and I'm just talking, trying to find a point. And that's the worst kind of homily ever is. And we all know, we kind of hear when that happens that I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I don't think he knows what he's going to talk about next. And there it becomes less of a liturgical moment and more just a sense of entertainment on behalf, like, let's see where he goes.
Yeah, probably not a great way of going about it. I mean, the second reading is actually very rich as well. Just about, the need to proclaim the gospel, the good news, Saint Paul, 1 Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, if I proclaim the gospel, this gives me no ground for boasting, for an obligation is laid on me, and woe to me if I do not proclaim the gospel. And then he continues on, but I mean, that's a powerful thing as well. It echoes something that Pope Paul VI said in his document on evangelization, that the church exists to evangelize, to share the good news. And in many ways, woe to me if I don't live my life in a manner that shares the good news, whatever manner of life I'm called to live. If I'm baptized, I have an obligation to share the good news of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think so. And there we go. I think that ties into the gospel with, for this purpose have I come. right? And this purpose have we been entrusted with the church. I remember, I think I was watching Bishop Robert Barron in one of his videos. He said the church exists for three reasons: one, to give glory to God; two, to serve our fellow human beings; and then three, to evangelize. Those are kind of the three mission statements of the church: to give glory, to serve, and to evangelize. And I don't know if I was hoping you would continue with your reading to see if this word is in the Canadian version or if you use a different word. But picking up right where you left off in the American version, it says, "If I do so willingly, I have a recompense. But if unwillingly, then I have been entrusted with a stewardship." And that word stewardship, I don't know if that's in the Canadian version.
Nope.
Okay.
For if I do this of my own will, I have a reward. But if not of my own will, I am entrusted with a commission.
Commission. So here we have in the American version, stewardship. And I know that's a big word in kind of Catholic circles these days. And I know it's actually one of the things that someone once asked our Archbishop. They said, okay, when you get to 75 and you're able to retire, you will have been the Archbishop for about, 15 or 20 years here. What would you like your lasting kind of memory, your lasting legacy to be in the Archdiocese after 15 or 20 years as the Archbishop? And he said, stewardship. He said, if I could get people to not only know, but to embrace this idea of stewardship, I think he would consider his time, quote unquote, successful.
Right.
And so, you could even just jump off of that word here. But even I like the word in the Canadian version, right? This commission, because again, it goes into that, co-mission, right? Mm-hmm. We have been given this mission with Christ to do this, to do those three things, one of which is evangelize, to spread the good news, which Jesus says the purpose for which he has come. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Now I'm getting some ideas. So I'm liking my chances of not having to preach the back pocket homily, so we'll see what happens.
There you go. There's it. Yeah. I mean, oftentimes I think people might hear stewardship and immediately think money, but no. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just a component. It's sharing, as you say, commission, sharing in the mission of Jesus Christ as we're called to share it, and that's going to look different for different people, the exact mode of that sharing, but we're all still very much called to share in his mission. So here he is healing. Well, how am I called to assist in that mission where I am? It's a good reflection point. Yeah. So there might be the challenge again to preach how many homilies? One?
Uno. One.
One homily.
Eins. One homily.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was talking about this. I think I tried to tell you this when we first had the network connectivity issues before the episode started. I said, I was reading an interesting kind of spiritual commentary, and I said, I don't know if I can really work this into a homily, but it was interesting. The author was comparing this gospel passage with the gospel passage from the Passion, and they said, What's interesting is during the Passion, Jesus gets separated from them at night, but they don't pursue him. And here, he goes away from them, in night, before dawn, before the sun is up, and yet they do pursue him. And said there's something there, and there, I think it's one of those things where it's interesting to think about it. It's interesting to make that connection. There can be possibly some spiritual connection, but I don't know if I could really make a homily out of it, and to say, we're like the apostles sometimes. Sometimes we pursue Jesus, sometimes we don't pursue Jesus. But I think that might be stretching the gospel a little bit to try to fit a point that I'm not sure I even know what it is, nor do I want to have to make.
It'd be a fascinating thing probably for like a scripture term paper, especially with the Gospel of Mark, because in the Gospel of Mark, it emphasizes very strongly on the night of his passion that they just scatter. There's even the one disciple, he scatters so quickly he leaves his cloak behind and runs off naked. Like they scatter, which it always cracks me up when you read that version of the Passion, and people who, maybe they're zoning out a bit, and then that detail comes up, and you're just kind of seeing it like, what? What was that?
Yeah, it's the paying attention litmus test. You see all of a sudden people's eyes go, wait, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it seems like such a random detail, right? But yeah, there's probably something there too, though. I mean, it's the gospel. Of course, there's something there, but as long as I don't preach a 37-minute homily or 37 homilies.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, 30. We only want one. Yeah, and definitely nowhere near 37 minutes on that. But I think one of the difficulties, and we were talking about this last week, is that we're very early in Jesus's ministry, and we're past those big kind of, if you want to call them kind of Christmas events, right? Those big celebration moments. We're beyond the birth, we're beyond baptism, we're beyond the presentation in the temple, and we're not yet into Lent. And so we're in these kind of very early stages of Jesus's ministry, in which not a lot has been revealed about who he is. Not a lot has been revealed about that everything is kind of going to the passion. And I feel sometimes that as preachers, we're in the same boat as the apostles. Like, we're still trying to get used to this. We're still trying to kind of figure this out. And so it makes it kind of difficult sometimes to preach on. So if you ever want to give a homily on on actual preaching itself, there you go. But I'm just kind of thinking about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I could see. I mean, we're kind of in the depths of winter here. We've got a polar vortex hovering over Saskatchewan now. The overnight low, I think, on Sunday is going to be minus 38, which at that point doesn't matter which scale I'm using.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Negative 38 is cold no matter. Ooh.
Yeah.
So here's a random question on that. When it ever gets that cold, I've always thought about this, and even though I grew up in Alaska, I grew up in a part that doesn't quite get that cold, because we're a little bit, I say we're in the tropical parts of Alaska where I grew up. It's a little bit south, but it's next to the ocean. So we get kind of that moderating effect there that you certainly don't get in Saskatoon, with being nowhere near the ocean. But at what point could you spit and have it land as ice? Have you ever tried to do that and see what happens?
I've not tried that, but I do know, like, I've blessed like a casket at a funeral, and even though the water landed as liquid on the casket, it was very, very, very quickly not liquid. So I've had that happen for sure.
Oh, I can imagine, especially if the casket has any kind of metal parts on it, like a metal rim or that, and if that metal gets cold, that's going to freeze that water very quick. Woo.
Yeah, there's actually, like, I don't know if you have it in your ritual, but we actually have it's on a laminated card, and it's officially part of our ritual book for funerals. This is like totally off topic now, but whatever. It's designed for shorter, for use in inclement weather. And it is basically a little brief introductory blurb, a line of scripture, the prayer over the grave, blessing of the grave, an Our Father, and you get the heck out of there.
That makes sense. I honestly have not seen it. Not to say it doesn't exist or not in some places in the United States, but we certainly don't need it here in California. The only reason we would need that for is if it's raining and people wanted to get out of there. But you can hold an umbrella and make it work. It'd be fine. I do know that in some of the places up in northern parts of Alaska, basically all the funerals get delayed until the spring. Not because it's necessarily cold, but because they can't dig into the ground until the ground thaws. And so burials, basically bodies are kept in the morgue at the mortuary service until the spring thaw comes and they can dig into the ground.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I've done one funeral up in the very northern part of Saskatchewan, so like right near the border with the Northwest Territory, and they had to, I think, light a fire over the gravesite for a few days. And then they dug it out, I think by hand even. But yeah, I mean, this is like so off topic with the gospel. Jesus healed Simon's mother-in-law.
And they never got negative 38 in Palestine. I don't care if it was 2,000 years ago. I don't think it gets that cold. I don't think it's ever been that cold anywhere near that part of the world. So.
And plus it's the wind chill that really gets you here, So all I do know is my dog, who's right over here right now, when it's that cold, she does not waste time outside. But anyway, we got just nothing but the most important information on this podcast.
That's right,
everyone.
I was about to say, talking about not wasting time. Let's stop wasting your time talking about funerals on a homily podcast. So Thank you very much for joining us as we were able to do some workshopping with the gospel, with the first reading, making some connections. And please let us know what your thoughts are, what you hear in the preaching. Get in touch with us. You can get in touch with us. The best way is probably on Facebook or through email. Although we are on Twitter and Instagram, we don't really aren't too active on there. The best place is probably Facebook and email. So let us know what you hear. Let us know what you think. Get in touch with it. And thanks for tuning in this time. And whether you're tuning in live or tuning in later, listening to it or watching it, thanks for joining us. And at -38, keep your stick on the ice and get off the ice quickly is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, just stay indoors. Have a good day. God bless everyone.
All right. Ciao, ciao. Good to see you.